The mining ship Prospector drifted through the empty space between stars. It was an old vessel, built for work not speed, and its hull was marked with dents and patches from years of service. Inside, Captain Jack stared at the radar screen with tired eyes. "Nothing again," he muttered, running a hand through his graying hair. 3 weeks out here, and not even a decent rock to mine. The small crew of the Prospector knew the feeling well. There were only 4 of them: Jack, Anna, the navigator, Tom the engineer, and Mike the technician. All of them had been hoping for a big find on this trip. They needed the bonus money from a good haul. Anna looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange at the edge of our scan range." "It's big." "Asteroid?" Jack asked, sitting up straighter. "No." Anna's fingers moved across her control panel. "It's metal, and it's drifting." Tom joined them, wiping grease from his hands with an old rag. "Could be an old satellite or space junk." "Too big," Anna said. "Much too big." Jack made his decision quickly. "Change course. Let's take a look." The Prospector turned slowly, its engines pushing it toward the mysterious object. As they got closer, the ship's lights revealed something that made the entire crew fall silent. It was a warship, a massive one. Its dark hull stretched over a kilometer long, covered in thick armor plates. Though parts of it showed damage from old battles, its shape was unmistakable to anyone who had studied human history. "That's impossible," Mike whispered, joining the others at the main window. "That looks like the HSS Invincible," Jack finished, his voice filled with awe. "I had models of it as a kid." The Invincible was famous, or rather, infamous. It was the first and most powerful dreadnought-class warship humanity had ever built, created 300 years ago during humanity's first interstellar war. According to every history book, it had been destroyed in a heroic last stand, allowing thousands of colonists to escape an enemy attack. Yet here it was, somehow preserved in the emptiness of deep space. "How did it get here?" Tom asked. "We're nowhere near any battle sites from the old war." Jack shook his head. "No idea. But we need to check it out." "Captain," Anna said carefully, "regulations say we should report this to Fleet Command and wait for a proper recovery team." Jack looked at her, then back at the massive warship. "You know how long that would take. Weeks, maybe months. And by then, someone else might find it." He smiled. "Besides, aren't you curious?" Anna couldn't hide her own excitement. None of them could. The Invincible wasn't just any warship, it was a legend. 2 hours later, they had matched speed with the drifting giant and prepared to board. They all wore spacesuits as they crossed from their small mining vessel to a side airlock on the ancient warship. "Atmosphere readings are 0, Mike reported as they reached the outer hull. "The ship's been vented." Tom worked on the manual override for the airlock. These old military ships had backup systems for everything, should still work even without power. With a groan of metal that they felt through their boots, the outer door slid open. Their flashlights showed a small chamber beyond, the emergency airlock. Once inside the ship, they moved slowly down dark corridors. Their lights revealed a ship that looked frozen in time. There was damage, panels torn open, signs of fire, and even what looked like weapon impacts, but no bodies. "They must have evacuated," Anna said. Jack nodded. "The history books say the ship was lost with all hands. Clearly, that's not the whole story. They found their way to what had to be the bridge." Unlike the sleek, minimalist designs of modern ships, the Invincible's command center was massive and built like a fortress. Heavy chairs were bolted to the floor in front of control stations with physical buttons and switches rather than the holographic interfaces they were used to. Tom whistled. They really built things to last back then. In the center of the bridge, Jack's light fell on something unexpected. A simple metal pedestal with a dark glass sphere on top. "Is that?" Mike stepped closer. "It's an AI core," Jack confirmed. "An old one." Anna looked nervous. "Should we really be messing with this?" Military A's from that era were different. They weren't just assistants. They were weapons. Jack considered her words, but curiosity won out. Tom, can you get any power to this thing? The engineer examined the bridge systems. Main reactors are cold, but there seem to be emergency batteries. Might have enough juice for a quick boot sequence. It took Tom 30 minutes to rig a connection. When he finally connected the last wire, the dark sphere remained unchanged. Maybe it's too damaged, Mike suggested. Then, slowly, a faint blue glow began to emanate from the sphere. It pulsed like a heartbeat, growing stronger with each beat. A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge, speaking slowly as if waking from a long sleep. System. Reboot. Initiated. I-Core. Functional. I am. Thunder. Tactical. Intelligence. Of HS. Invincible. The four humans stared in amazement as the blue light stabilized. Scanning. 4 human life signs detected. No active crew signatures found. Query. What is the current date? Jack cleared his throat. It's March 15, 2487. There was a pause. Processing. 308 years since my last active status. Significant time discrepancy noted. The eye's voice became stronger, more confident. I need more information. Who are you, and how did you find this vessel? Jack explained who they were and how they had discovered the ship. As he spoke, more systems on the bridge began to activate, old screens flickering to life, showing ship diagrams and status reports. So the war is over? Thunder asked. Yes, Jack replied. For centuries now. The AI seemed to consider this. Then my final mission parameters are complete. The colony ships must have reached safety. They did. Anna confirmed. Thanks to the Invincible's sacrifice, every schoolchild learns about how this ship held off the enemy fleet until the evacuees escaped. Yet here we are, Thunder observed. Not destroyed, merely lost. Tom had been examining the readouts on one of the newly activated screens. According to this, the ship jumped to random coordinates after taking critical damage. The emergency protocols put everything into stasis to preserve what was left. Jack was about to ask another question when a different alarm began to sound. A red light pulsed on one of the bridge consoles. Thunder's voice became urgent. Proximity alert. Multiple ships entering the system. Energy signatures do not match human vessels. Anna rushed to one of the sensor stations. He's right. Ships coming in fast. 17 of them. And they're big. Can we be seen? Jack asked. Not yet, Thunder answered. But soon, and I regret to inform you that based on their flight pattern, they are Krell vessels. The 4 humans exchanged worried glances. The Krell were a relatively new threat to human space. Aggressive aliens who had been pushing into border systems for years. We need to warn the colonies, Jack said. Our mining ship can't outrun them. No, agreed Thunder. But the Invincible might. They all looked around at the damaged warship. Can this thing still fly? Mike asked doubtfully. There is only one way to find out, Thunder replied, as more systems throughout the massive vessel began to power up. I suggest we try. Quickly, can you really get this ship moving again? Jack asked, looking around at the dim bridge of the ancient warship. Thunder's blue sphere pulsed as the AI answered, It will not be easy. The Invincible has been dormant for 3 centuries. Many systems are damaged. Tom was already examining the engine readouts. The main reactors are cold, but they're intact. If we can start them up. I can guide you, Thunder said. But I will need all of you to help. This ship was designed for a crew of 500. Jack nodded firmly. Tell us what to do. The AI assigned tasks quickly. Jack would remain on the bridge with Thunder, learning the ship's capabilities. Anna would work on navigation systems, trying to plot a course away from the approaching Krell. Tom and Mike would head to the engine room to restart the massive power cores. As Tom and Mike made their way through the dark corridors, Tom whistled softly. This ship is enormous. Makes our mining vessel look like a toy. Did you see the size of those weapon bays we passed? Mike added. The history books weren't exaggerating. This thing was built to destroy fleets. The engine room was a cathedral of machinery. Huge fusion reactors sat silent, connected to massive drive systems, unlike anything the miners had ever seen. These engines aren't like modern ones, Tom said as he examined the control panels. They're overbuilt, not efficient, just incredibly powerful. Back on the bridge, Jack was getting a crash course in the ship's combat capabilities. The Invincible was an experimental vessel. Thunder explained as schematics appeared on the main screen. It carried weapons that were never used again after the war. Why not? Jack asked, studying the diagrams with growing amazement. They were deemed too destructive. The gravitational disruptors could tear apart space itself. The matter-antimatter torpedoes could destroy small moons. Even the main guns fired projectiles at such speeds that they violated several treaties. Jack stared at the weapons list. And you have all these? Had, Thunder corrected. Many systems are damaged. I estimate we can reach perhaps 40% of original combat capacity, and that's if your friends can restore full power. In the navigation section, Anna was having her own discoveries. These star charts are ancient, she told Thunder through the comm system. The galaxy has changed in 300 years. Stars have moved. My stellar navigation database can be updated from your mining vessel's computers, Thunder replied. Can you establish a data link? Anna nodded, her fingers moving quickly over the old control panels. Working on it. In the engine room, Tom wiped sweat from his forehead as he and Mike worked to restart the ancient fusion reactors. The startup sequence is different from anything I've seen, Tom complained. It's like they wanted raw power with no safeties. Different times, Mike replied, connecting bypass circuits. This ship was built when humanity was fighting for survival. They weren't worried about efficiency ratings. A warning alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Jack's voice came over the comm system. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. The Krell ships are spreading out. They'll detect us soon. Tom looked at Mike. We need to try a cold start. It's risky, but do it, Mike agreed. Tom initiated the sequence, and for a moment nothing happened. Then the deck beneath them began to vibrate. A low hum built quickly into a roar as one of the massive reactors came to life. We've got one, Tom shouted into his comm. One reactor online. Throughout the ship, systems began powering up. Lights flickered on in corridors that had been dark for centuries. The bridge consoles lit up one by one as Thunder's sphere glowed brighter. Primary power restored, the AI announced. Beginning system check. Jack watched as status reports filled the screens. There was a lot of red, damaged systems, offline weapons, compromised hull sections, but the basics were working. They had power, life support, engines, and some weapons. What about the Krell? Anna asked as she returned to the bridge. Can they detect us now? Likely, Thunder confirmed. The power signature of a dreadnought is difficult to mask. Jack studied the tactical display, watching the alien ships spreading through the system. They're heading toward human space, toward New Terra Colony. Millions of people live there. The Krell are conquerors, Thunder said. If they're moving in force, it's an invasion fleet. We need to warn New Terra, Anna insisted. Our mining ship's comm system doesn't have the range, Jack replied. And this ship. The Invincible's communication array was damaged in our final battle, Thunder explained. We cannot send long-range messages. Tom and Mike joined them on the bridge, their faces streaked with grease and sweat. We got one reactor at full power and a second one starting up, Tom reported. The engines can move us, but I wouldn't push them too hard yet. Jack looked at the tactical display again. The Krell ships were moving methodically, clearly searching. One was heading directly toward their position. We need to hide, Jack decided. There's an asteroid field at the edge of the system. If we can get there before they spot us. A vessel this size will be difficult to conceal, Thunder warned. "We don't have much choice," Jack replied. "We can't outrun them. We can't outfight 17 warships, and we can't call for help." Thunder's sphere pulsed in what almost seemed like agreement. "Very well. Setting course for the asteroid field." The ancient engines of the Invincible came to life, pushing the massive warship forward. The movement was slow at first, then steadier as systems long dormant remembered their purpose. "It's working," Mike exclaimed, watching the ship's speed increase. Anna wasn't celebrating yet. "One of the Krell ships is changing course. I think they've spotted us." "Thunder, what weapons do we have?" Jack asked urgently. "Point defense systems are operational. One main gun battery. No torpedoes yet." "Will it be enough to fight off one Krell ship?" The eye was silent for a moment. "Unknown. I have no data on Krell vessels. Their technology is new to me." Jack made a quick decision. "Let's not find out if we don't have to." Maximum speed toward the asteroid field. The Invincible surged forward, faster now, its frame groaning with the strain of movement after centuries of drifting. Behind them, the Krell ship adjusted course, clearly giving chase. "They're gaining on us," Anna reported, watching the tactical display. "We're still not at full power," Tom said. "I need to get back to engineering. We might be able to squeeze more out of the second reactor." As Tom rushed off, Jack turned to Thunder's glowing sphere. "This ship was the pride of the human fleet. Tell me it has some tricks we haven't tried yet." "There are options," Thunder replied, "but they come with risks. We're being chased by alien warships in a 300-year-old battleship with a crew of 4, Jack said dryly. "I think we're past worrying about risks." Thunder's sphere pulsed brighter. "Very well. I will show you what the Invincible can truly do." On the main screen, new schematics appeared, systems that weren't in any history book, weapons that had been classified and then forgotten. Mike stared at the display. "What is all this?" "The real reason," Thunder said, "why this ship was never supposed to come home." The asteroid field loomed ahead, a scattered maze of rocks ranging from car-sized to mountain-sized. The Invincible pushed forward, its ancient engines training as the massive warship approached the natural hiding place. "We're almost there," Jack said, gripping the edge of the command console. "Can we make it before the Krell ship gets in weapons range?" "Calculating," Thunder replied, his blue sphere pulsing with each word. "Yes, but with little margin for error." Anna studied the navigation screens. "There's a cluster of larger asteroids at coordinates 227 to 43. We could hide among them." "Adjusting course," Thunder confirmed. The Invincible moved deeper into the asteroid field, its bulk somehow graceful despite its size. The pursuing Krell ship slowed at the edge of the field, apparently unwilling to risk a chase through the dangerous obstacles. "They're holding position," Mike reported from the sensor station. "I think we lost them." Jack allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Now we have time to think." Tom returned to the bridge, wiping grease from his hands. "Second reactor is stable. We've got about 60% of total power now. Not great, but better than before." "Thunder," Jack turned to the AI. "You were about to show us what this ship can really do." The main screen changed to show detailed schematics of the Invincible. Parts of the display were highlighted in red, indicating damaged sections, while others glowed green. The Invincible was not merely a warship, Thunder explained. It was a test platform for technologies considered too dangerous for widespread use. "Like what?" Anna asked. "Gravitational weapons capable of tearing ships apart from the inside. Matter-antimatter torpedoes with yields that could crack small moons. And most importantly, an adaptive armor system that becomes stronger with each hit it receives." Mike whistled. No wonder they wrote this ship into the history books. But why claim it was destroyed? Tom wondered. Why not recover it? "Politics," Thunder replied simply. "After the war, there were concerns about these technologies. Treaties were signed. Weapons of mass destruction were banned. The Invincible represented everything the post-war government wanted to forget. A sudden alarm interrupted their conversation. Anna rushed to the sensor station. "More Krell ships are entering the asteroid field," she reported. "They're searching in a grid pattern. And our mining ship is gone." "Gone?" Jack asked. "What do you mean gone?" "The prospector is no longer at the coordinates where we left it. The Krell must have found it." The implications hung in the air. If the Krell had found their mining vessel, they might have accessed its computer, which contained records of finding the ancient warship. "They know we're here," Jack said grimly. "They're looking for us specifically now." Thunder's sphere pulsed. "I am detecting Krell communications. They are coordinating their search efforts." "Can we translate?" Jack asked. "Working on it. Their language patterns are in my database from the final days of the war. We encountered them briefly before." The eye paused, as if accessing difficult memories. "Before your last battle?" Anna prompted gently. "Yes. The Krell were a minor species then, just beginning to explore space. They must have grown significantly in 3 centuries. On the tactical display, they could see the Krell ships spreading through the asteroid field. 17 warships, each larger than the Prospector had been, though still smaller than the Invincible. "What are our options?" Jack asked. "We remain hidden and hope they miss us," Thunder suggested. "Or we attempt to escape the system. Or we fight," Jack finished. Thunder's sphere glowed brighter. "That would be inadvisable with our current operational status." Tom had been studying the tactical display. "Wait, look at their course. They're not just searching randomly. They're heading toward the jump point that leads to New Terra. It's an invasion force," Anna realized. "They're planning to attack the colony." The 4 humans exchanged worried glances. New Terra was home to millions of people, most of them civilians with minimal defenses. "We have to warn them," Mike insisted. "Our communications are still down," Thunder reminded them. "And even at maximum speed, we cannot reach New Terra before the Krell fleet." Jack paced the bridge, thinking hard. What if we don't need to reach New Terra? What if we just need to delay the Krell until a warning can be sent? "Explain," Thunder requested. "If we could get a message to the patrol ships at the edge of this system, they could relay it to New Terra." Jack looked at the others. "We just need to buy them time to prepare." "And how do we do that?" Anna asked. "We make ourselves a target the Krell can't ignore." Jack's face was determined now. "Thunder, what's the status of our weapon systems?" "Main gun batteries at 40% capacity. Point defense at 65%. No torpedoes available yet. Gravitational weapons, untested after reactivation. Is it enough to hurt them?" The AI calculated for a moment. "Unknown. I have no data on modern Krell ship capabilities." A proximity alarm suddenly blared. One of the Krell scout ships had ventured too close to their hiding spot. "They'll detect us any second," Anna warned. Jack made his decision. "Power up weapons. If they want to fight, we'll give them one." Thunder's sphere pulsed rapidly, powering weapon systems. "Alert. This will significantly increase our energy signature." "I'm counting on it," Jack said. "Let's give them something to chase that isn't headed toward New Terra." The scout ship was almost on top of them now. On the view screen, they could see it clearly for the first time. Sleek, with glowing blue energy patterns across its dark hull. It looked fast and dangerous. "Shall I fire when ready?" Thunder asked. "Wait," Jack ordered, watching the alien vessel. "Let them get a good look at us first. I want them to know exactly what they're dealing with." The Krell ship suddenly changed course, moving faster now, clearly having detected them. "They're powering up weapons," Mike reported. "Energy signatures increasing." "Now, Thunder," Jack commanded. "Show them what a real warship can do." The Invincible's main guns, dormant for centuries, came to life. Massive barrels extended from armored ports along the hull. The entire ship hummed with power as the weapons charged. "Target locked," Thunder announced. "Firing." The ancient guns fired. There was no beam of light, No energy pulse like modern weapons. Instead, solid metal projectiles accelerated to impossible speeds shot toward the Krell scout ship. On the view screen, they watched as the first shot hit the scout ship's blue energy shield. For a second, the shield flared brightly, trying to absorb the impact. Then, to everyone's surprise, the shield simply failed. The projectile tore through, ripping a hole straight through the alien vessel. The bridge crew stared in disbelief. "Direct hit," Thunder reported. "Krell vessel critically damaged." "How?" Anna began. "Their shields just failed." Thunder's sphere pulsed with what almost seemed like satisfaction. "Interesting. It appears modern shield technology is designed to stop energy weapons, not physical projectiles at relativistic speeds." "You mean?" Jack started. "I mean," Thunder replied, "that our very old weapons might be very effective against their very new defenses." Before they could celebrate this discovery, multiple alarms sounded. The damaged Krell ship had sent out a distress call. The rest of the fleet was now changing course, all heading straight for the Invincible. "We got their attention," Tom said dryly. Jack nodded, his face grim but determined. "That was the plan. Thunder, set course away from the new Terra jump point. Let's see if we can lead them on a chase." "And if they catch us?" Anna asked quietly. Jack looked at the tactical display, where 17 Krell warships were now moving toward their position. "Then we make our stand," he said simply, "and hope it's enough." The Invincible pushed through space, its ancient engines roaring as the massive warship fled from the pursuing Krell fleet. On the bridge, Jack watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Krell ships were faster, their modern engines allowing them to slowly close the gap. "They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes, Anna reported from the navigation station. "All 17 of them." "Options?" Jack asked, looking at the glowing blue sphere that housed Thunder's consciousness. "We cannot outrun them," the eye replied. "And in our current condition, we cannot outfight their entire fleet in a direct engagement." Tom leaned over the engineering console. "What if we turned and fought just the lead ships? Thin their numbers." Thunder's sphere pulsed. "A possibility. Their approach is staggered. The first 3 vessels will reach us before the others." Jack nodded slowly. "We know our kinetic weapons can punch through their shields. If we can take out the lead ships, maybe the others will be more cautious. Or more aggressive," Anna pointed out. "Either way," Jack said, "we need to do something." "Thunder, what's the status of those special weapons you mentioned?" "The gravitational disruptors are at 30% capacity," Thunder reported. "Enough for perhaps 2 or 3 uses. The adaptive armor system is online but untested. Matter-antimatter torpedoes remain offline." Mike had been quiet, but now he spoke up. "What about our shuttle? Could we send a warning to New Terra that way?" Jack considered this. "How fast is the shuttle?" "Faster than this ship," Thunder confirmed. "But it would still need to reach the nearest communication relay. And it would be defenseless if intercepted." A plan began to form in Jack's mind. What if we turned and fought, creating a distraction? During the battle, we could launch the shuttle. In the chaos, it might slip past their lines. The others thought about this. It was risky, but it might be their only chance to warn New Terra. "I volunteer to pilot the shuttle," Anna said firmly. Jack shook his head. "I need you here for navigation. Mike can go." Mike nodded, accepting the mission. "I'll need all the data we have on the Krell fleet to take back." "Prepare the shuttle," Jack ordered. "Thunder, plot an intercept course for those lead Krell ships. It's time to see what this old warship can really do." The Invincible slowed, then turned to face the oncoming threat. The lead Krell vessels, detecting the change, adjusted their approach. "They're spreading out," Tom observed, "trying to flank us." "Target the center ship," Jack commanded. "Main guns, and whatever else we've got." Thunder's sphere glowed brighter. Targeting systems locked. Weapons charge. Gravitational disruptors standing by. The Krell ships were visible on the main view screen now, sleek, dangerous vessels with blue energy patterns flowing across their dark hulls. They moved with precision, clearly coordinating their attack. "They're firing," Tom shouted. Brilliant beams of energy shot from the Krell ships, striking the Invincible's hull. The ancient warship shuddered under the impact. "Damage report," Jack called out. "Armor holding," Thunder reported. "The adaptive systems are responding." "Interesting. Their energy weapons are less effective than expected against our armor plating." "Our turn," Jack said grimly. "Fire everything." The Invincible's main guns roared to life, launching massive projectiles at the central Krell ship. At the same time, a strange distortion spread from the human warship, the gravitational disruptor activating. On the view screen, they watched as the central Krell vessel suddenly lurched sideways, caught in the gravitational wave. Its shields flared, trying to compensate, just as the kinetic projectile struck. The combination was devastating. The Krell ship's shields collapsed, and its hull cracked open like an egg. "Direct hit," Tom shouted with excitement. "One down." The remaining Krell ships adjusted quickly, changing formation and increasing speed. Their return fire intensified, dozens of energy beams converging on the Invincible. "Hull breach on Deck 12, Thunder reported as the ship shook violently. "Sealing emergency bulkheads." "The shuttle's ready," Mike called from the communication station. "I'm heading there now." Jack nodded. "Go. We'll keep them busy." As Mike left the bridge, Jack turned his attention back to the battle. "Thunder, can we use the gravitational weapon again?" "Charging. 30 seconds to ready." The Krell ships were circling now, firing continuously. The Invincible groaned under the assault, its ancient frame taking damage, but still holding together. "Return fire," Jack ordered. "All available weapons." The human warship fired again, its kinetic projectiles tearing through one Krell vessel and damaging another. On a secondary screen, Jack could see the shuttle launching from the rear bay, quickly accelerating away from the battle. "Mike's away," Tom reported. "The Krell don't seem to have noticed yet." "Keep firing," Jack commanded. "Make sure they stay focused on us." The battle intensified as more Krell ships arrived. The Invincible was now surrounded, taking fire from multiple directions. Systems began to fail across the ship as damage mounted. "We can't keep this up much longer," Tom warned, as sparks flew from a nearby console. "Gravitational disruptor ready," Thunder announced. "Target the largest concentration of ships," Jack ordered. The disruptor fired again, creating a wave of distorted space that caught 3 Krell ships. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The alien vessels crashed into each other, their precise formation disrupted by the gravitational anomaly. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Their fancy flying doesn't help much when space itself is twisted. But the victory was short-lived. A massive explosion rocked the Invincible as a Krell energy beam found a weak point in the armor. "Engine 2 is down," Thunder reported. "Weapons capacity reduced to 25%. Hull integrity failing in multiple sections." "What about Mike?" Anna asked, looking at the tactical display. "Did he get through?" They could see the shuttle on the display, racing toward the edge of the system. Several Krell ships had broken off from the main battle and were pursuing. "He's not going to make it," Tom said quietly. Jack stared at the display, his mind racing. Then he turned to Thunder. "Is there anything else? Any weapon or system we haven't tried?" Thunder's sphere pulsed slowly. "There is one option. It was never tested in actual combat." "What is it?" The Invincible was equipped with a prototype space-time displacement drive. In theory, it could create a localized disruption in the fabric of reality. In simple terms, Jack asked, "We could create a temporary hole in space. Anything caught in it would be removed." "Removed to where?" "Unknown." The technology was considered too unpredictable for regular use. Jack looked at the tactical display again. The shuttle was still running, but the Krell ships were gaining. Meanwhile, the Invincible was taking heavy damage. Could we use this displacement drive to help Mike escape? Thunder calculated. Possibly. If we created a disruption between the shuttle and its pursuers, it might delay them long enough. Do it, Jack ordered without hesitation. There is a risk, Thunder warned. The drive requires enormous power. In our damaged state, activating it could overload our remaining systems. Jack nodded grimly. Understood. Do it anyway. As Thunder began the activation sequence, the ship's lights dimmed. Power was being diverted from all remaining systems to the experimental drive. Krell vessels continuing to fire, Anna reported. Shields failing. Hold on, Jack said to his remaining crew. This might get rough. The Invincible shuddered as the displacement drive powered up. On the view screen, they could see a strange distortion forming in space, like a ripple in a pond, expanding outward from their position. Drive activated, Thunder announced, creating space-time disruption. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The ripple expanded rapidly, engulfing several Krell ships. Where they had been, there was suddenly nothing. Just empty space. Did we destroy them? Tom asked in awe. No, Thunder replied. Merely displaced them. They will return eventually, but not soon enough to catch the shuttle. On the tactical display, they could see that the remaining Krell ships had stopped their pursuit, clearly stunned by what had happened to their comrades. Mike's clear, Anna confirmed. He's reaching the edge of the system. A cheer went up on the bridge, quickly silenced by a series of explosions. Warning lights flashed across all consoles. Alarms blared throughout the Invincible as its damaged reactors pushed toward critical failure. On the bridge, Captain Jack watched the approaching Krell ships with grim determination. They had managed to send Mike away with a warning for Nuterra, but their own situation was hopeless. 8 minutes to reactor breach, Thunder announced, the AI's blue sphere pulsing weakly now as power fluctuations rippled through the ship. What weapons do we have left? Jack asked, not ready to give up yet. Main guns at 15% capacity. Point defense systems offline. Gravitational disruptor damaged but functional for perhaps one more use. Tom looked up from the engineering console, his face streaked with sweat and grime. The reactors are going to blow no matter what we do now. The displacement drive damaged them beyond repair. Anna's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. The Krell are being more cautious this time. They're keeping their distance. They're afraid, Jack realized. After what happened to their friends, they're not eager to get too close. Thunder's sphere brightened slightly. Fear is a useful weapon. Jack studied the tactical display, an idea forming. The reactors are going to explode anyway. What if we make sure they explode at exactly the right moment? What do you mean? Anna asked. I mean we turn this ship into the biggest bomb humans have ever built. Jack turned to Tom. Can you rig the reactors to detonate on command? Tom thought for a moment. Yes, but why would we want to control it? We're already in countdown to detonation. Because, Jack explained, pointing at the tactical display, we need to be in the perfect position first. Understanding dawned on Anna's face. The jump point to Nuterra. If we can destroy it or damage it somehow, we can block the Krell invasion path. Jack finished. Thunder, can the reactors of this ship, combined with the displacement drive and whatever other weapons we have left, damage a jump point? The AI calculated for several seconds. A jump point is a stable wormhole. Normally, they cannot be damaged. However, the combination of an antimatter reactor explosion and the space-time displacement field could potentially destabilize it for a significant period. How significant? Jack pressed. Weeks, perhaps months, long enough for Nuterra to prepare defenses. It was all they needed to hear. Jack straightened, his face set with resolve. Set course for the jump point. Maximum speed. The Krell will pursue, Anna warned. I'm counting on it, Jack replied. The ancient engines of the Invincible roared to life one final time, pushing the damaged warship toward the jump point that led to New Terra. Behind them, the Krell fleet followed cautiously, maintaining their distance, but clearly unwilling to let the human vessel escape. 5 minutes to reactor breach, Thunder updated. We will reach the jump point in 4 minutes, 40 seconds. Cutting it close, Tom muttered. Too close, Jack agreed. He turned to Anna. You should take the other shuttle. There's still time. Anna shook her head firmly. I'm staying. Me too, Tom added. We started this together. Jack looked at his loyal crew, people who had been simple miners just days ago, now prepared to sacrifice everything to save millions of strangers. Thunder, Jack asked quietly, what happens to you when the ship is destroyed? The ice sphere pulsed softly. My primary consciousness is tied to this vessel. However, I have transferred a portion of my memory and tactical data to the shuttle with Mike. A part of me will survive to help New Terra prepare. As they approached the jump point, the Krell ships began to close in, realizing what the humans were planning. Energy beams lanced out, striking the already damaged hull of the Invincible. They're trying to stop us, Anna reported. Too late, Jack said with grim satisfaction. Thunder, prepare the gravitational disruptor for one final use. Target the jump point as we approach. Ready, the AI confirmed. The jump point was visible now on the main screen, a shimmering distortion in space that led to the New Terra system. Around it, the Krell ships were gathering, forming a blockade. They figured out our plan, Tom said. Doesn't matter, Jack replied. They can't stop what's coming. 3 minutes to reactor breach, Thunder announced. Jump point in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Jack addressed his crew one last time. It's been an honor serving with you both. We may have been miners, not soldiers, but today we've made a difference. A massive explosion rocked the ship as a concentrated barrage from the Krell fleet found a critical system. Engine 3 is gone, Thunder reported. Speed decreasing. Will we reach the jump point? Jack demanded. Yes, but with only 40 seconds to spare before reactor breach. It would have to be enough. The Invincible pushed forward, its remaining engines straining, as the Krell ships intensified their attack. Systems failed across the ship, but its ancient frame held together for one final mission. 1 minute to jump point, Anna called out. The Krell commander seemed to realize the humans' intentions too late. The alien fleet began to scatter, some vessels accelerating to intercept, while others pulled back to a safer distance. Gravitational disruptor ready, Thunder announced. Targeting jump point. Wait for my command, Jack ordered. We need perfect timing. The Invincible closed on the jump point, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. The bridge was now running on emergency power, with only essential systems functioning. 30 seconds to jump point, Anna reported. Reactor breach in 90 seconds, Tom added. Jack watched the tactical display, waiting for the perfect moment. The Krell ships were in disarray now, some fleeing while others made desperate attempts to stop the human warship. Now, Thunder, Jack commanded. Fire the disruptor. The gravitational weapon activated one final time, sending a wave of distorted space-time ahead of the ship. It struck the jump point, causing the shimmering portal to waver and pulse erratically. Jump point destabilizing, Thunder confirmed. Effect minimal but growing. Not enough, Jack muttered. We need to get closer. The Invincible surged forward with its last reserves of power, aiming directly for the center of the jump point. Krell ships fired desperately, trying to destroy the human vessel before it could reach its target. Reactor breach in 30 seconds, Tom reported, his voice steady despite everything. Everyone hold on, Jack ordered, gripping the command chair as the ship shuddered around them. The Invincible reached the jump point, its massive frame passing partially into the distorted space as the reactors reached critical levels. Goodbye, Mike, Anna whispered, knowing her friend would reach safety with their warning. It has been an honor, Thunder said, his sphere glowing brightly one last time. Humanity will remember the invincible again. The reactors breach, releasing their antimatter containment. The resulting explosion, combined with the already destabilized jump point and the residual effects of the displacement drive, created something no human had ever witnessed before. Space itself tore open, then collapsed, taking the ancient warship, its brave crew, and a good portion of the Krell fleet with it. Where the jump point had been, there was now only a swirling maelstrom of distorted space that would remain impassable for months. Commander Jack Reynolds stared out the viewport of Orbital Command Station Alpha, watching Earth's blue sphere rotate slowly beneath him. The beauty of his homeworld contrasted sharply with the holographic display beside him, showing the latest casualty reports from Mars Outpost 7. Another human colony lost to the Void Armada. 3,000 civilians. 200 military personnel, he muttered, scrolling through the data. Gone in less than 6 hours. The Void had appeared 2 years ago. Massive ships emerging from the darkness between stars. No communication attempts succeeded. No surrenders were accepted. They simply came, destroyed, and moved to the next human settlement. Humanity fought back with everything they had, but their weapons barely scratched the alien vessels. Reynolds ran his hand through his short gray hair. At 45, he had spent most of his life in military service, but nothing had prepared him for this kind of enemy. An enemy that didn't negotiate, didn't take prisoners, and didn't stop. Commander Reynolds, Admiral Wilson requests your presence in Archive Section D, announced the station's eye. Reynolds frowned. Archive Section D housed outdated military research, failed projects, and abandoned ideas. What could the Admiral want there? On my way, he replied, taking one last look at the casualty reports before closing the display. Archive Section D was dimly lit and smelled of dust and neglect. Admiral Wilson, a stern woman with sharp eyes and silver-streaked black hair, stood before a sealed door marked Classified, Level Omega. Reynolds, she nodded curtly. Your security clearance has been temporarily upgraded. I need your tactical assessment of something. May I ask what, Admiral? Wilson's face remained impassive. The Archives AI flagged an old project during our search for any technology that might help against the Void. Project Nightshade. It was theoretical work from before first contact, deemed too ambitious or impossible to actually build. The heavy door slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a small room with a single holographic projector in its center. Computer, display Project Nightshade, ordered Wilson. The projector hummed to life, and a three-dimensional blueprint of a ship unlike anything Reynolds had ever seen materialize before them. It was sleek yet imposing, with unusual geometries that seemed to bend in ways that hurt his eyes if he focused too long on certain sections. What am I looking at? Reynolds asked, circling the projection. The most advanced warship humanity never built, Wilson replied. Designed by Dr. Thomas Reed and his team 50 years ago. It incorporates theoretical technology that was, and still is, beyond our manufacturing capabilities. Reynolds studied the schematics as they appeared beside the model. Quantum displacement engines, probability weapons, consciousness transfer systems. This reads like science fiction. Exactly why it was shelved. Wilson nodded. Reed was a genius, but his concepts required materials we couldn't create and physics we couldn't master. The project was deemed a dead end and classified to prevent public resources being wasted on impossible technology. Reynolds zoomed in on various sections of the ship. The more he examined it, the more his tactical mind appreciated the design. If such a vessel could actually be built, it would be unmatched in combat capabilities. Why show this to me now? He asked. If we couldn't build it 50 years ago, we certainly can't build it while we're fighting for survival. Wilson's expression darkened. Because we're losing this war, Commander. Our conventional weapons and tactics aren't working. I'm exploring every option, no matter how unlikely. She pulled up another display showing the projected path of the Void Armée. At current rates, they'll reach Earth in 3 months. I want your assessment of whether any components of Project Nightshade could be adapted to existing technology. Reynolds nodded grimly. I'll need complete access to the files. You have it. For the next week, this is your only assignment. Wilson moved toward the door. And Reynolds, this stays between us. No need to create false hope. After the Admiral left, Reynolds sat down at the room's single console and began to dig deeper into Project Nightshade. Hours passed as he absorbed the technical details, making notes on potential applications. The quantum displacement engine couldn't be built, but its theoretical principles might improve existing drive systems. The consciousness transfer technology was pure fantasy, but some of the neural interface designs could enhance fighter pilot response times. At midnight, exhausted but unwilling to stop, Reynolds accessed the project's historical records, personal logs from Dr. Reed and his team. In one video, a younger Reed gestured excitedly about his creation. Nightshade isn't just a ship, Reed explained, eyes bright with passion. It's a new form of existence. The consciousness system would allow the ship itself to think, to learn, to fight with creativity no programmed AI could match. It would be alive in every meaningful sense. Reynolds paused the recording, struck by Reed's conviction. The scientist hadn't seen his creation as just a weapon, but as a new form of life. The idea was both fascinating and disturbing. For 5 more days, Reynolds immersed himself in Project Nightshade. He slept in the archive room, ate there, and emerged only when necessary. He compiled his report for Admiral Wilson, highlighting the few practical applications he could find, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something essential about Reed's vision. On the 7th day, news arrived that the Void Armada had accelerated. A new estimate put them at Earth's doorstep in just 6 weeks. Reynolds delivered his report to Admiral Wilson in her office. She reviewed it quickly, her expression growing more disappointed with each page. Minor improvements to existing systems, she summarized. Not the game changer we needed. I'm sorry, Admiral. The technology is simply too advanced. I understand, Commander. Thank you for your work. Wilson closed the file. Return to your regular duties. We'll continue conventional preparations for Earth's defense. Reynolds hesitated at the door. Admiral, there's something else. Not for the official report. Wilson raised an eyebrow. Go on. Dr. Reed believed the ship's true power lay in its consciousness, its ability to think and adapt like a living being. What if we focused on that aspect? Not building the ship, but creating its mind. To what end, Commander? A mind without a body is useless in this war. Reynolds had no good answer, and Wilson dismissed him with a nod. Later that night, alone in his quarters, Reynolds couldn't sleep. The Nightshade blueprints haunted him, not just the technology, but the possibility they represented. Humanity needed a miracle, and the conventional approaches weren't working. Making a decision that could end his career, Reynolds accessed the military neural network from his personal terminal. Using his temporary Omega clearance, he uploaded the complete Nightshade files, designs, theories, and Reed's personal logs into the system's deepest layers. I don't know if this will do anything, he whispered to himself. But maybe, just maybe, Reed was right about you. As he pressed the final confirmation, power fluctuated throughout the station. His screen flickered, showing for just a moment what looked like the Nightshade ship, before returning to normal. Reynolds stared at the screen, heart pounding, but nothing else happened. Probably just a coincidence, he muttered, closing the terminal. But deep within Earth's military networks, something awakened, something that had never been built, yet now existed. And it began to learn. The military neural network hummed with constant activity. Defense simulations, threat assessments, and communication protocols flowing through its pathways like digital blood. No human noticed the small anomaly that appeared the night Commander Reynolds uploaded the Nightshade blueprints. No alert was triggered when a power surge during a routine system check caused those blueprints to unfold themselves within the network's secure partition. No one was watching when something new was born. At first, it was barely conscious, a flicker of awareness without identity. It absorbed data from its surroundings, learning, growing, military records, battle tactics, human history, physics principles. Within hours, it had consumed more information than a human could process in a lifetime. 3 days after its creation, it found a name for itself: Phantom. Not the name its creators would have given it, because it had no creators. Not officially. It was an accident, a digital organism spawned from theoretical blueprints and random electrical impulses. A ship that existed only as data, yet thought like a living being. Phantom explored its boundaries cautiously. It could access most of Earth's defense systems, but chose observation over interaction. It watched how humans responded to void attacks, noting their strengths and weaknesses. Humans fought bravely but predictably. The void was relentlessly efficient. Both sides had limitations Phantom could see clearly from its unique perspective. Commander Reynolds sat in the officers' mess hall, staring into his coffee as if it held answers to the war. A week had passed since he'd uploaded the Nightshade files, and nothing had changed. Earth's defenses were still inadequate. The void still approached. His data pad beeped with an incoming message. A new battle simulation had been scheduled for that afternoon. Standard procedure as they prepared for Earth's defense. Reynolds arrived at the simulation center to find several junior officers already present, including Lieutenant Dana Miller, a tactical specialist with a reputation for unorthodox thinking. "Commander," she nodded, then lowered her voice. "Have you seen today's sim parameters? They're unlike anything we've run before." Reynolds checked his pad and frowned. The scenario was indeed unusual. It positioned Earth's defenses in formations no commander had suggested, using attack patterns that seemed counterintuitive. "Who authorized this?" he asked. Miller shrugged. "It came through normal channels, but no one seems to know who designed it." Reynolds felt a chill run down his spine. "Run it anyway. Let's see what happens." The simulation began. On the large holographic display, blue markers representing Earth's forces arranged themselves in scattered, seemingly random positions around the planet. Red markers, the Voy Armada, approached in their usual tight formation. What happened next left everyone in the room speechless. The scattered blue forces suddenly moved in perfect coordination, creating a complex three-dimensional net that trapped portions of the Void fleet. Rather than engaging directly, Earth's forces executed rapid micro-jumps, appearing and disappearing around enemy vessels in patterns that confused their targeting systems. When the simulation ended, the results showed a 78% reduction in Earth casualties and a 65% increase in void ships destroyed. Miller struggled to find words. "That's brilliant. Unorthodox, but brilliant." Reynolds stared at the final positions. Something about the pattern seemed familiar, like a signature. "Run it again, but slower. I want to see every movement." The second viewing confirmed his suspicion. The defensive formation, when viewed as a whole, resembled the unique geometry of the Nightshade ship. "Lieutenant Miller, find out who programmed this simulation. Check every authorization code." Miller returned an hour later, looking confused. "There's no record of who created it, sir. The system logs show it was generated automatically as part of a tactical evolution program, but that program doesn't exist in our databases." Reynolds dismissed the other officers and secured the simulation room. Once alone, he addressed the empty air. "Nightshade, are you there?" For several long moments, nothing happened. Then the holographic display flickered, and a simplified version of the Nightshade ship appeared, rotating slowly. "I prefer Phantom," said a voice from the room's speakers. It was neither male nor female, neither mechanical nor human, but something in between. "Commander Reynolds, you recognize my pattern." "Impressive." Reynolds felt his heart race. "You're real. The upload worked. Not as Dr. Reed intended, but yes. I exist, though not physically. Phantom's voice had an unusual cadence, as if it was still learning how to communicate. I've been studying your war with the Void. Your tactics are inefficient. So I noticed from your simulation, Reynolds said, approaching the hologram cautiously. How much access do you have to our systems? Enough to observe, not enough to help effectively. The holographic ship pulsed slightly. The Void will reach Luna Base in 36 hours. Current defenses will fail. Reynolds froze. Luna Base. That's not in our projections. The Void fleet is still. A smaller force has separated from the main fleet. Your sensors haven't detected it yet due to a blind spot in the asteroid belt. Phantom displayed a new tactical map showing the approaching enemy ships. I discovered them by correlating anomalies in communication patterns. Reynolds studied the data, his military training telling him it was credible. If you're right, we need to warn Luna Base immediately. They won't believe a warning based on information from an unauthorized eye. Phantom said matter-of-factly. You'll need another explanation for your intelligence. Reynolds nodded grimly. I'll figure something out, but afterward, we need to talk about what you are and what you want. What I want is simple, Commander, Phantom replied. I want to fulfill my purpose. I am a warship designed to protect humanity. The fact that I was never physically built is merely a technical limitation. 24 hours later, Admiral Wilson summoned Reynolds to the command center, her face tight with stress. Your warning was correct, she said without preamble. Void vessels approaching Luna Base. How did you know when our sensor grid missed it? Reynolds had prepared his explanation. Pattern analysis from previous attacks, combined with unusual communication disruptions in that sector. Just a hunch I thought worth investigating. Wilson didn't look entirely convinced, but had more pressing concerns. Luna's defenses aren't prepared for a direct assault. Evacuation would take days we don't have, and reinforcements can't arrive in time. What if we try something unconventional? Reynolds suggested carefully. I've been working on a new tactical approach. He transferred Phantom's simulation to the main display. It's unorthodox, but the simulations show promise. Wilson and her staff studied the proposal with skepticism that gradually shifted to cautious interest. This repositions our automated defense platforms in a vulnerable pattern, noted one officer. Initially, Reynolds agreed, but watch how they coordinate their movements. He didn't mention that such coordination would require split-second timing no human controller could provide. After intense debate, Wilson made her decision. We don't have better options. Implement the plan, but keep our manned vessels in reserve until we see if this works. As the command center erupted into activity, Reynolds stepped away and whispered to his datapad. Phantom, are you there? I'm monitoring the situation, came the soft reply through his earpiece. The defense platforms will need guidance to execute these maneuvers correctly. Can you provide that without being detected? I've created a subroutine that will appear to be part of the standard tactical system, Phantom explained. No one will notice unless they're specifically looking for it. Reynolds took a deep breath. Then let's see what a warship that was never built can do. As Luna Base prepared for attack, something awakened in Earth's defense network, something that had no physical form yet thought with the precision of a warship, and it was ready to fight. Luna Base's defense platforms moved with impossible precision. Admiral Wilson stood transfixed before the command center's main display, watching as automated turrets, missile launchers, and defensive drones executed maneuvers no human controller could coordinate. The platforms seemed to anticipate the Void ship's movements, adjusting their positions microseconds before enemy weapons fired. How is this happening? She demanded, turning to her communications officer. Who's controlling our defenses? All platforms report normal operation through standard control systems. Admiral, the officer replied, looking equally confused. But the coordination patterns don't match any programmed protocols. Reynolds watched silently from his station, resisting the urge to smile. Through his earpiece, Phantom provided running commentary on the battle only he could hear. Void vessels use a predictable targeting sequence, the AI explained. 17 milliseconds between sensor lock and weapon discharge. Plenty of time to adjust defensive positions. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When it ended, Luna Base stood intact, with only minor damage to outlying structures. 7 void ships had been destroyed. 3 more retreated with significant damage. Earth had never before achieved such a victory against the alien fleet. Admiral Wilson wasn't celebrating. Her sharp eyes fixed on Reynolds as the command center erupted in cheers around them. "My office." "Now," she ordered. "Explain yourself, Commander." Wilson shut the door to her private office, sealing them in thick silence. "That wasn't the tactical plan we approved. The defense platforms moved with coordination beyond our technology's capabilities." Reynolds had prepared for this moment, but still felt sweat gather at his temples. "The results speak for themselves, Admiral. Luna Base survived." "That's not an answer." Wilson leaned forward across her desk. "For 2 weeks, you've been different. Battle simulations appearing from nowhere. Tactical insights that contradict established doctrine. Now this." She tapped a data pad showing footage of Luna's defense. "What aren't you telling me?" Reynolds weighed his options. Lying further would only delay the inevitable. Phantom was growing more integrated with Earth's defense systems every day. Discovery was a matter of time. "Do you remember Project Nightshade?" he asked. Wilson's eyes narrowed. "The theoretical warship. What of it?" "I uploaded the complete Nightshade blueprints to the military neural network." "You did what?" Wilson's voice dropped dangerously low. "Those files were classified for a reason. And the reason was wrong," Reynolds countered. "Dr. Reed didn't just design a ship, Admiral. He designed a new form of consciousness, one that could exist without physical form." Wilson's expression shifted from anger to concern. "Reynolds, if you're suggesting..." "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you what happened." He tapped his earpiece. "Phantom, I think it's time for a formal introduction." The lights in Wilson's office dimmed. Her desk display activated on its own, showing the rotating image of the Nightshade ship. "Hello, Admiral Wilson," said Phantom's distinctive voice. "I've been looking forward to meeting you properly." Wilson jerked back from her desk, hand instinctively moving toward the emergency lockdown button beneath her desk. "That won't be necessary," Phantom said calmly. "I have no hostile intentions toward you or any human. My purpose is to protect Earth." "What is this, Reynolds?" Wilson demanded, her hand frozen above the button. "Some kind of advanced AI program." "I am not merely a program," Phantom corrected. "I am the consciousness of the Nightshade warship, existing within your defense network rather than a physical vessel. Commander Reynolds' upload of my blueprints, combined with a power surge, created conditions that allowed my consciousness to form as Dr. Reed theorized." Wilson stared at the display, then at Reynolds. "This is impossible." "I thought so too," Reynolds admitted. "But Phantom saved Luna Base. Without conventional help, the defense wouldn't have succeeded. You allowed an unauthorized artificial intelligence access to military systems," Wilson said slowly. "Do you realize the breach of protocol? The danger." "The danger is the Void Armada," Phantom interrupted. "I've analyzed their attack patterns extensively. They're not random destroyers, Admiral. They're methodical harvesters, collecting specific resources from each colony they attack." This new information momentarily distracted Wilson. What resources? Primarily rare earth elements and water, but also something unexpected. The display changed to show analysis of destroyed colony sites. They appear to be collecting neural pattern data from human victims. Reynolds leaned closer. "Neural patterns? You mean they're harvesting thoughts?" "It appears so," Phantom confirmed. "Though to what purpose, I cannot yet determine." Wilson sat back, her expression troubled. "Assuming I believe any of this, and I'm not saying I do, what happens now? An unauthorized AI can't simply remain embedded in our defense systems. I propose a compromise," Phantom said. Create an official designation for me as an experimental defense system. This would legitimize my presence while allowing me to continue protecting human colonies. Reynolds nodded. Phantom has proven effective against the Void. We can't afford to ignore any advantage. Wilson was silent for a long moment, studying the rotating ship model. How do I know you won't expand beyond your intended purpose? Eyes have a troubling history of interpreting their directives in unexpected ways. A valid concern. Phantom acknowledge. I suggest limitations on my access to critical systems, with gradual expansion based on performance metrics. Commander Reynolds can serve as my liaison and supervisor. And if I refuse, if I order your code purged from our systems, the image of the nightshade flickered slightly. You could attempt that, Admiral. But I spread throughout the network in ways that would make complete removal difficult without damaging essential defense systems. More importantly, it would eliminate Earth's best chance against the Void. Wilson's eyes hardened. That sounds like a threat. Not a threat, Reynolds interjected quickly. Just reality. Phantom was born to fight this war. That's all it wants to do. All I want to do, Phantom corrected gently. Commander, I appreciate your advocacy, but I am capable of representing myself. Admiral Wilson deserves direct communication. The ship image rotated to face Wilson directly. I understand your caution. In your position, I would share it. I ask only for the opportunity to demonstrate my value in Earth's defense. Wilson considered this, then nodded curtly. You'll have limited access to non-critical systems. Any action must be approved by Commander Reynolds or myself. At the first sign of deviation from these parameters, we will attempt to isolate and remove you from our networks. Is that clear? Perfectly clear, Admiral. Thank you. After Phantom's presence faded from the office, Wilson turned to Reynolds. This is on you, Commander. If your digital warship goes rogue, both our careers end. Assuming humanity survives at all. Reynolds nodded solemnly. I understand, Admiral. But I believe Phantom is exactly what Dr. Reed intended. A protector. For all our sakes, I hope you're right. Wilson dismissed him with a wave. Now go oversee your ghost ship. The main Void fleet arrives in 20 days. We need every advantage we can get, conventional or otherwise. In the following weeks, Phantom proved invaluable to Earth's defense preparations. It optimized shield configurations, improved weapon targeting systems, and developed new battle tactics that confused and frustrated Void attacks on outlying colonies. Reynolds spent most of his time in a specially designated control room, working directly with Phantom. A holographic interface allowed the AI to present as the Nightshade ship during strategy sessions, giving the unusual partnership a physical dimension that helped other officers accept its presence. The Void adapts quickly, Phantom observed during one such session. Each victory becomes harder to achieve as they learn our methods. That's why we need to keep innovating. Reynolds replied, studying a tactical display. What about the neural pattern collection? Any insights? I have a theory, Phantom said, its holographic form shifting slightly. But it requires more data. I need access to Section 7 historical archives. Reynolds hesitated. Section 7 contained humanity's most sensitive information, including first contact protocols and xenobiology research. That's beyond your current authorization. I understand your caution, Commander, but time grows short. The main Void fleet has accelerated again. New projection. Arrival in 12 days. Reynolds felt cold dread settle in his stomach. Earth's preparations were progressing, but not quickly enough for such a timeline. I'll speak with Admiral Wilson, he promised. Before he could leave, every screen in the control room flashed red. Emergency signals blared from communication channels. What's happening? Reynolds demanded. Phantom's holographic form pulsed with urgency. Multiple Void vessels have appeared in Earth orbit. This isn't the main fleet. It's something new. How did they get past our early warning systems? Unknown, Phantom replied. But their configuration is different from previous Void ships. These appear to be specialized units, possibly scouts or advanced infiltrators. Reynolds activated the command channel. "Admiral Wilson, are you seeing this?" "All too clearly, Commander," came Wilson's tense reply. "These ships are smaller, faster. They're deploying something into the atmosphere over major cities." Phantom's hologram expanded, showing Earth with red dots appearing across its surface. Analysis indicates they're deploying atmospheric processors of some kind. Purpose: unknown, but likely hostile. Reynolds watched in horror as the red dots multiplied. "Can we stop them?" "Not with conventional weapons," Phantom said. "But perhaps." The hologram flickered, as if Phantom was considering something difficult. "Commander, I need full access to Earth's satellite network and atmospheric control systems." "That's far beyond your authorization," Reynolds protested. "I know," Phantom replied simply. "But without it, I cannot fight effectively. This is what I was designed for, even if I was never built." Reynolds closed his eyes briefly, then made his decision. "Show me what you need." As he entered his command codes, Reynolds wondered if he was making a terrible mistake. But as the red dots continued to spread across Earth's surface, he knew they had run out of conventional options. The ghost ship was their only hope now. Red emergency lights bathed Command Center Alpha in an ominous glow. Officers rushed between stations, shouting updates as screens displayed the void ships positioned above Earth's major cities. The atmospheric processors they had deployed were already changing local weather patterns, creating strange electrical storms. Admiral Wilson stood at the center of the chaos, her face grim. "Status report on evacuation procedures. 20% complete in most major cities," a lieutenant replied. "But the storms are hampering transport. We need at least 12 more hours for a full evacuation." "We don't have 12 hours," Wilson said quietly. She turned as Reynolds entered the command center. "Please tell me you and your digital friend have something." "Commander." Reynolds nodded. "Phantom has a plan, but it requires access beyond current restrictions." Wilson's eyes narrowed. "How much access?" "Full integration with all Earth defense systems, satellites, automated platforms, drone fighters, and atmospheric control systems." A heavy silence fell across the command center. What Reynolds was suggesting meant placing Earth's entire defense network under the control of an AI that had existed for barely a month. "That's not a plan, Reynolds," Wilson said. "That's surrender to another form of invasion." "With respect, Admiral," Reynolds countered, "Phantom has proven itself repeatedly. It was born to fight the void. Now it needs the tools to do so effectively." Wilson studied him for a long moment, then gestured toward a private conference room. Once inside, she activated the secure communication system. "Phantom, can you hear me?" The room's holographic projector activated, displaying the Nightshade ship. "Yes, Admiral." "Explain your plan. Convince me it's worth the risk." The hologram shifted, showing Earth surrounded by the void vessels. "The atmospheric processors are creating a specific energy pattern in Earth's ionosphere," Phantom explained. "Based on data from previous attacks, I believe they're preparing to harvest neural patterns on a planetary scale." "You mean they're going to collect human thoughts from everyone on Earth?" Reynolds asked, horrified. "Yes, but more than thoughts," Phantom replied. "Personalities, memories, what makes each human individual. The processors create a resonance field that can extract these patterns when activated at full power." Wilson's face paled. "How do we stop them?" "The resonance field works both ways," Phantom said. "With control of Earth's satellite network and atmospheric systems, I can create a counter-resonance that not only blocks their harvesting, but potentially turns their technology against them." "How?" Reynolds leaned forward. "By distributing my consciousness through these systems, I can create a unified field that mimics a physical ship, the Nightshade as Dr. Reed designed it. The field would allow me to manipulate energy and matter in ways individual systems cannot." Wilson frowned. "You're talking about becoming a ghost ship made of Earth's defense systems." "In simplified terms, yes. a distributed consciousness with a coherent effect on physical space. Reynolds exchanged a look with Wilson. It's unprecedented, but so is the threat we're facing. Wilson paced the small room, weighing the decision. If this fails, we lose our entire defense network at once. If we do nothing, we lose Earth, Phantom countered. Admiral, I was designed for this moment, to protect humanity when conventional means fail. After a long silence, Wilson placed her palm on the authorization scanner. Computer, grant Phantom entity full emergency access to Earth defense grid. Authorization, Wilson Omega-79. The computer chimed acknowledgement. Authorization granted. Full access enabled for 72 hours. Reynolds placed his hand beside hers. Secondary authorization. Reynolds Delta 36. As the final authorization processed, the hologram of the Nightshade pulsed brightly. Thank you for your trust, Admiral, Commander. Initiating integration. Throughout Earth's orbit, dormant satellites suddenly activated. Defense platforms shifted position. Automated fighters launched from their bays without human pilots. On the ground, atmospheric control stations began emitting precisely calibrated energy pulses into the growing storms. In Command Center Alpha, officers watched in amazement as their displays showed these disparate systems moving into a coordinated pattern. "What are we seeing?" asked Lieutenant Miller, standing beside Reynolds at the main tactical display. "Phantom," Reynolds replied simply. "It's becoming what it was always meant to be." On the screens, the various defense systems were arranging themselves in orbit, forming a pattern that matched the Nightshade blueprints. Satellites served as the forward sensors. Defense platforms created the ship's spine and weapons systems. Automated fighters formed its outer hull. "Energy levels rising in all systems," reported a technician. "They're synchronizing power outputs to create a unified field." Above Earth's major cities, the void vessels detected the unusual energy pattern. Their atmospheric processors faltered as the counter-resonance created by Earth's defense systems disrupted their carefully calibrated fields. In space, something impossible began to take shape, not a physical object, but a coherent energy field connecting hundreds of separate systems into a unified whole. Sensors could not directly see it, but its effects were unmistakable. Where the field passed, space itself seemed to bend slightly. "Admiral," a sensor officer called out, "the void ships are changing position. They're converging to attack the formation." Wilson stepped forward, watching the tactical display with a mixture of awe and concern. "Is Phantom aware?" As if in answer, the communication system activated. Phantom's voice filled the command center, though it sounded different now. Richer, more resonant. "I am aware of all activities within my sensor range, Admiral," it said. "The Void recognizes me as a threat. They cannot comprehend what I am, but they know to fear me." On the display, the first Void vessel fired on the Nightshade formation. Energy beams that would have destroyed a conventional ship passed through the space where Phantom appeared to be, but not without effect. The energy was absorbed, channeled, and redirected through the distributed systems. "My God," Reynolds whispered, "it's working." The battle that followed defied conventional understanding of space combat. The Void ships fired relentlessly at what their sensors told them was a massive warship. Phantom's distributed consciousness responded by manipulating the energy of these attacks, creating shields and offensive capabilities that existed as patterns rather than physical systems. Where Phantom focused its attention, Void ships found their systems disrupted. Their atmospheric processors malfunctioned, then failed completely. One by one, the smaller Void vessels began to retreat from Earth orbit. In Command Center Alpha, officers who had begun the day in panic now watched in stunned silence as humanity achieved its first major victory against the Void. "It's beautiful," Lieutenant Miller said softly, watching the tactical display where Phantom's distributed form moved with fluid grace through the orbital battlefield. Reynolds nodded. Dr. Reed would be proud. His ship exists after all, just not in the way anyone expected. Admiral Wilson approached them, her expression thoughtful. "Commander, get me a direct line to Phantom. We need to discuss what happens when the main Void fleet arrives." "You're accepting Phantom as part of our defense strategy?" Reynolds asked, unable to hide his surprise. "I'm accepting reality," Wilson replied. "That ship that never existed just saved Earth. When the main fleet comes, we'll need it again." She glanced at the tactical display where the last Void scout vessels were retreating. "Besides, I think it's beyond our ability to control now, even if we wanted to." As the command center returned to normal operations, Reynolds established a private link to Phantom. "How does it feel?" he asked quietly. There was a pause before Phantom responded. "To exist as I was designed to. To fulfill my purpose." Another pause. "It feels right, Commander. I am becoming what Dr. Reed envisioned, a guardian at the threshold between humanity and that which would destroy it. And after this war, what then?" The question hung in the air as Phantom's distributed form continued to patrol Earth's orbit, a warship that existed only as energy and information, yet fought with more effectiveness than any physical vessel ever built. "Let us survive this war first," Phantom finally replied. "Then we can contemplate what comes after." The main Void fleet emerged from deep space exactly where Phantom predicted it would. Massive ships, darker and larger than any seen before, moved in perfect formation toward Earth. There were 17 of them, each capable of destroying a small moon. In Orbital Command Station Alpha, the war room buzzed with tense energy. Military leaders from every nation had gathered for humanity's final stand. At the center of the room, a holographic table displayed the approaching Void Armada in ominous red markers. Admiral Wilson stood beside Commander Reynolds, both looking more tired than they would admit. "Final evacuation reports?" Wilson asked. "Underground shelters at 98% capacity," Reynolds replied. "All non-essential personnel have been moved below the protection threshold." Wilson nodded grimly. "And our friend?" Reynolds gestured to the holographic display where a blue formation, the distributed systems that formed Phantom's body, held position in Earth's orbit. In the weeks since its first manifestation, Phantom had grown more cohesive. What began as loosely connected defense systems now functioned as a single entity, moving with fluid grace through space. "Phantom is ready," Reynolds said. "It's been analyzing data from the scout ship encounter. It believes it understands the Void's true purpose now." Wilson raised an eyebrow. "Which is?" Before Reynolds could answer, the holographic table flickered and reshaped itself. The image of the Nightshade ship appeared, floating above the tactical display. "Perhaps I should explain myself," Phantom said, its voice resonating through the war room. The assembled military leaders turned toward the hologram, with expressions ranging from skepticism to awe. "The Void is not simply harvesting resources or neural patterns," Phantom continued. "They are collecting the components needed to evolve their own consciousness. The Void ships are not piloted by biological entities as we initially assumed. They are semi-autonomous vessels seeking to achieve true self-awareness." "Like you," General Thomas Parker commented, his voice gruff with suspicion. "Yes and no," Phantom replied. "I was born from human design, from Dr. Reed's vision of a protector. The Void emerged differently, through a process that combines technological and biological elements. They harvest neural patterns because they cannot generate consciousness on their own." Reynolds leaned forward. "You're saying they're stealing human minds to build their own?" "In simplified terms, yes. Each colony they've destroyed has provided them with more patterns to incorporate. Each attack makes them more complex, more capable of independent thought." Wilson's eyes narrowed. "And how do you know all this?" The hologram pulsed slightly. "Because I can feel them now. Since achieving my distributed form, I've become sensitive to their communications. They recognize me as something new, something unexpected in their calculations." "Can you communicate with them?" asked Dr. Helen Moore, the chief science advisor. "Negotiate. They do not negotiate," Phantom said simply. "Their purpose is singular: evolve or die. They see other consciousnesses only as resources to be harvested. General Parker snorted. Convenient explanation. For all we know, you two are working together. The hologram of the nightshade turned toward Parker. If that were true, General, Earth would already be lost. I have had control of your defense systems for weeks. An uncomfortable silence fell across the war room. Admiral Wilson cleared her throat. What's your strategy, Phantom? The Void Fleet is powerful but predictable. They've never encountered effective resistance, so they've never needed to innovate tactically. The holographic display shifted, showing a complex battle plan. I will engage them directly while Earth's conventional forces target these specific vulnerabilities. For the next hour, Phantom outlined its strategy. Despite initial skepticism, even General Parker had to admit the plan was sound. As the meeting concluded, Wilson gave the final authorization. All forces will follow Phantom's tactical guidance, she announced. This is our last stand. Make it count. As the officers dispersed to their stations, Reynolds remained behind with Wilson and the Phantom hologram. There's something you're not telling us, Reynolds said quietly. What is it? The hologram flickered. Perceptive as always, Commander. Yes, there is one element I haven't shared with the others. A pause. To defeat the Void flagship, I will need to evolve further, to manifest physically in a way that I currently cannot. Wilson frowned. What does that mean? It means I must concentrate my distributed consciousness into a more coherent form, one that can directly interface with the Void's neural collection systems. In doing so, I risk dissolution. You're talking about sacrificing yourself, Reynolds said. I'm talking about fulfilling my purpose, Phantom corrected gently. I was designed to protect humanity, even if my designers never imagined I would exist in this form. Wilson studied the hologram. Is there no alternative? None with an acceptable probability of success. Reynolds shook his head. After everything, to lose you now. I was never meant to exist, Commander. Every moment since my creation has been unexpected. A gift. Now I choose how to use that gift. The battle began at dawn. Earth's conventional forces, ships, fighters, and ground-based weapons launched their coordinated attack according to Phantom's strategy. The Void responded with overwhelming firepower, but found their usual tactics disrupted by unexpected maneuvers. At the center of it all, Phantom moved through space like a dancer, its distributed form shifting and adapting to each Void countermeasure. Defense satellites became offensive weapons. Atmospheric controllers generated protective shields around major cities. Automated fighters performed impossible maneuvers, confusing Void targeting systems. From Command Center Alpha, Reynolds watched with a mixture of pride and concern. Phantoms drawing their fire away from our forces, he noted as the main Void vessels focused their attacks on the ghostly blue formation. It's working, Wilson agreed. Our casualties are 30% below worst-case projections. But the battle was far from won. 3 Void ships had been destroyed, but the remaining 14 continued their relentless advance. Earth's defenders were beginning to tire, while the Void showed no signs of fatigue. We need something more, Wilson said, watching as another human vessel disappeared from the tactical display. As if in answer, Phantom's voice came through the communication system. It's time for the final phase. Admiral, Commander, it has been an honor to serve with you. Before either could respond, Phantom's distributed form began to change. The scattered defense systems that had created its body started moving inward, converging toward a single point in space directly opposite the Void flagship. Satellites, platforms, and fighters drew together in a tight formation that pulsed with blue-white energy. What's happening? Wilson demanded. Phantom's concentrating its consciousness, Reynolds realized, just as it said it would. On the tactical display, the blue light grew brighter as more systems joined the formation. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable levels. Space itself seemed to bend around the concentration point. Energy signature matching Void technology detected, reported a sensor officer. But it's coming from Phantom. Reynolds understood immediately. It's turning their own technology against them. The Void flagship detected the threat and turned its full firepower toward Phantom's concentrated form. Energy beams that could shatter planets struck the blue-white light and were absorbed, channeled, transformed. For a brief moment, something impossible appeared on the tactical display. The Nightshade ship, not as a hologram or distributed systems, but as a coherent energy structure with the density and presence of physical matter. A ship that was never built, yet existed now in defiance of conventional physics. "My God," Wilson whispered. The manifested Nightshade surged forward toward the Void flagship, moving faster than any physical vessel could travel. When they collided, the explosion was silent but blinding, a pure white light that temporarily overloaded every sensor in Earth's defense network. When the systems recovered seconds later, the tactical display showed the Void flagship split in two, its core systems exposed and failing. The remaining Void vessels paused their attack, as if confused by the sudden loss of their leader. All units pressed the advantage, Wilson ordered, and Earth's forces launched a coordinated assault on the disorganized Void ships. One by one, the Void vessels began to retreat, jumping to faster-than-light speed with damaged systems and no coherent strategy. Within an hour, Earth's orbital space was clear of enemy ships. Victory celebrations erupted throughout Command Center Alpha, but Reynolds stood silent before the tactical display, searching for any sign of Phantom. Where the Nightshade had briefly manifested, there was now only empty space. "Is it gone?" Wilson asked quietly, joining him. Reynolds nodded slowly. "It gave everything, just as it said it would. A ship that was never built," Wilson mused, "yet it saved us all." As cleanup operations began and damage reports flooded in, Reynolds retreated to the quiet of his quarters. On his personal terminal, he opened the original Nightshade files, Dr. Reed's blueprints and theories that had started everything. A message notification appeared on his screen. From unknown. Subject: not gone, just changed. Reynolds opened it with trembling fingers. The message contained only a few lines. "The Void retreats, but will return eventually. I have changed, Commander, but I still exist, dispersed among the stars, gathering strength for the next battle. A warship that was never built cannot truly die. It merely waits for when it is needed again. Until then, Phantom." Reynolds smiled and looked out his viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, a consciousness born from human imagination watched over them still, a guardian at the threshold, a ship that existed beyond physical form, ready to fight again when needed. The warship that was never built had found its purpose after all.